It's the biggest warship that India has ever built, and after a decade of delays, after a decade of uncertainty, that ship has sailed out to sea. And there's no question in our minds that this episode of Battle Cry is going to be dedicated to the reincarnated Vikrant. No bigger warship built in India. No bigger feat for our naval shipbuilders. Our first Atmanirbhar aircraft carrier. Vikrant in its latest reincarnation. India mesmerized as she sails out to sea. The new crown jewel of our national defense. India's blood, sweat and tears in this one vessel. Monster ship, massive hopes. Vikrant begins. The big story on Battle Cry. Building a ship like this is no joke, folks. It's over 40,000 tons and one of the most complicated ships ever to be built, and it was built right here in India. It's our first indigenous aircraft carrier. It's called the Vikrant, and this week it sailed out to sea for its trial by fire before it enters service. "45,000 tons, 262 meters long, a crew of over 1,500 personnel, and with a fleet of fighters on its deck. Say your namaskarams to India's new Vikrant. In a proud and historic day, India's first indigenous aircraft carrier, the reincarnated Vikrant, sailed out into open ocean on Wednesday for the first time, kicking off its crucial sea trials. The biggest and most complex warship ever built in India, the Vikrant is scheduled to enter Indian naval service next year. The ship has taken its time coming, with several technology-related delays over more than a decade, but it's finally ready for its trial by fire. The new Vikrant will have on board a fleet of at least 30 fighter jets, including the formidable MiG-29K that currently operates off India's sole active aircraft carrier, the Russian-built INS Vikrant. The Vikrant can also operate the indigenous Naval light combat aircraft, which has been making great strides in carrier compatibility in recent months. As a large, lumbering beast of a ship, Vikrant won't be operating alone. When commissioned, Vikrant will operate as part of a carrier battle group, escorted by destroyers, frigates and submarines. But the Vikrant itself is also armed, but only for defense, with surface-to-air missiles, high-caliber deck guns and close-in weapon systems to fight off missile threats. Named after India's first aircraft carrier, the iconic INS Vikrant that saw action in the 1971 India-Pakistan War, the new Vikrant sets out to sea a half-century later, in a year when India celebrates 50 years of that historic war victory. A proud and historical moment in India's otherwise elusive quest for Atmanirbhar Bharat in defense. Vikrant will gladden the hearts of serving Navy personnel and veterans alike. India now joins a select group of nations with the proven capability to indigenously design, build and integrate a state-of-the-art aircraft carrier. India today wishes the sea trials of Vikrant every success and its crew on board, Shano Varuna. Bureau Report, India Today. Well, what makes an aircraft carrier? The core of an aircraft carrier, of course, is the aircraft. So you're probably wondering what aircraft are going to populate the deck and the hangar of the Vikrant. Take a look at this special report. We go into details of what's going to fly off the deck of this beautiful ship. no better view of the proceedings from inside the cockpit. Watch as India's brand new aircraft carrier, the reincarnated Vikrant, looms into view out in the Arabian Sea. And ever so gently, the helicopter touches down on Vikrant's virgin deck. This may look like a routine helicopter landing on an aircraft carrier, but it is brimming with significance. On her very first day out at sea, India's first indigenous aircraft carrier has wasted no time, rapidly kick-starting its sea trials. And while every single aspect of the carrier's functioning will be torture-tested in open ocean, what you're looking at are the beginnings of aviation trials. The very core of an aircraft carrier's existence, the aircraft it carries. On day one, Vikrant gave 2 helicopters some deck time. The Navy's trusty old Sea King and an indigenous HAL-built Dhruv helicopter. While the rotorcraft element is just as crucial to the aviation operations of this carrier, the combat teeth will of course come from fighter jets that will find home on Vikrant's deck and inside her cavernous hangar. The most immediate fighters that will operate off the new Vikrant are likely to be some of the in-service MiG-29K jets that currently operate from India's sole active aircraft carrier, INS Vikrant. These jets currently form the front line of Indian naval aviation's combat force. From fleet air defense to anti-ship operations, these fighters are nimble and feared for their agility. A more close match for the Indian Vikrant is the Indian Naval Light Combat Aircraft. Since January 2020, the indigenous naval jet has begun cutting its teeth with deck landings and launchings of the Vikramaditya aircraft carrier. This compact, nimble little jet is being seen as a perfect fit for the compact deck configuration on the Vikrant. In the very tight fight for space in aircraft carrier design, the Vikrant has been designed with compact lifts that carry aircraft from the hangar below deck to the flight line on top and the other way round. Some see these small lifts as a problem for bigger naval jets that the Indian Navy has been actively considering as part of a modernization effort. The Indian Navy has begun a quest to acquire at least 57 multi-role carrier-based fighters, short for MRCBF, also the name of the acquisition contest. The only 2 active contenders capable of operating off the Vikrant are the French Rafale and the American FA-18 Super Hornet. But both are very large jets, and there have been concerns if they can be transported safely on the small aircraft lifts built into the Vikrant. Recognizing these concerns, the makers of both jets have separately reassured the Indian Navy that there would be no problem. But there's another issue. Given that both the Rafale and Super Hornet are flung into the air using a steam catapult launch system, can they operate off the inclined ski jump on the Vikrant? Addressing this issue as well, the US Navy and Boeing have demonstrated ski jump launch capabilities of the Super Hornet. The French Rafale's maker has also told the Indian Navy that the jet can easily operate in this configuration. But apart from the fighters and utility helicopters on Vikrant, there's a crucial third aviation element that's indispensable. Russian-built Kamov Ka-31 helicopters will also be part of the fleet on Vikrant's deck, conducting crucial airborne early warning duties. Armed with that distinctive radar, the Ka-31 will help guide fighters in the air, control the battle space, and provide early warning on inbound threats and targets. The Indian Navy is also keen to give Vikrant unmanned air systems capabilities, something that has eluded operations for decades now. The Indian Navy is working closely with Hindustan Aeronautics Limited to develop a carrier-capable helicopter drone system worthy of high-performance operations as part of a larger carrier battle group. The brand new incoming American-built MH-60 Romeo Seahawk helicopters could also find deck time on the Vikrant, providing anti-submarine warfare and utility duties. HAL's indigenous Indian multi-role helicopter, or IMRH, in a navalized avatar, will also likely see service on Vikrant alongside other Indian Navy ships in the future. The Indian Navy recently conveyed to HAL that a navalized version of this helicopter with the folding tail and rotors is an absolute must. With a mix of over 40 jets embarked at any given time, Vikrant is a compact aircraft carrier compared to the super carriers of the United States. But when all systems are go by 2023 and everything is aligned, this floating airfield will be a formidable instrument of India's national defense. And don't forget, it's made right here in India. Even while we talk about all the technology on the Vikrant, let's not forget that carrier aviation has taken huge technological leaps in other parts of the world. Here's a look at how things have made huge strides in just the weeks gone by. As the Indian Navy's new baby, well, at over 40,000 tons, not really a baby, but you get the drift. As the new Vikrant gets some ocean time ahead of its entry into naval service next year, this is a great opportunity to cast our gaze on the massive leaps in technology surrounding carrier aviation. Take the crucial capability of aerial refueling, for instance. Currently, Indian Navy fighters either need to return to the carrier to refuel or, like their Air Force counterparts, get their fuel from an Indian Air Force mid-air refueler. But in the United States, that capability has just taken a giant leap. These images from just weeks ago tell you how far things have gone in this crucial naval defense domain. What you're looking at is the first ever refueling of a piloted jet by a purpose-built unmanned fuel tanker drone. The US Navy has chosen this drone, Boeing's MQ-25 Stingray, as an aircraft carrier-based dedicated tanker for fighters. Seen here is the entire sequence, where Boeing's rival Lockheed Martin, which lost in the contest, demonstrates the capability with an animation. The stealthy tanker drone operates like any other aircraft on a carrier deck. Except it's piloted from a control center on the ship, not in a cockpit. It's launched off the deck. It then becomes a flying gas station, available to refuel thirsty fighters so they can stay in the air longer. The capability is an enormous step forward in a carrier's ability to keep its fighting strength in the air for longer for more complex and dangerous missions. The Indian Navy doesn't really need such a capability at this time, but future threats could mean a real hard look at such options. That would also mean India's aircraft carriers would need to be bigger and capable of operating such drone technology. Such drones could become bigger with larger fuel capacities and at some point in the future could conceivably even take over mid-air refueling duties entirely from the giant tankers militaries currently use. The Indian Navy's tryst with advanced drone tech began last year with the leasing of two MQ-9B Sea Guardian surveillance drones made by the same US company that builds the legendary Predator and Reaper drones. But there's a long way ahead before the Indian Navy can embrace true cutting-edge carrier-based tech. The Vikrant heralds a proud new phase for India's carrier aviation. A giant leap by a country that now builds almost all its biggest warships. And the Indian Navy knows that technology will lead the way. While Vikrant will become an indispensable element of India's naval national defense, the Indian Navy is already sending out big messages to our neighbors, particularly China. In fact, like it has done over the years, it has sent a frontline fleet of warships to the South China Sea. Take a look.
As India-China standoff continues in Ladakh for over 15 months and Beijing rapidly builds up military infrastructure both in Tibet and Xinjiang, the Indian Navy's Eastern Naval Fleet is sending out 4 warships, including a guided missile destroyer, a guided missile frigate and 2 corvettes to South China Sea. The 2-month-long mission will see a series of bilateral and joint exercises, including with Quad partners in the Western Pacific. The Navy in a statement has said that the exercises are a part of the country's Act East policy to enhance military cooperation with friendly navies. The move to sail through South China Sea is being seen as a significant and not so subtle message to China.
Indian Navy sending the ships to South China Sea is a very routine thing. We are looking at it from a different perspective because of Galwan. And yes, the relationships with China have not been so good for the last year and a half now, since they did the Galwan, skirmishes happened. And after that, you've also seen how they are, using the strong arm tactics.
The Navy in a statement said the deployment of Navy ships seek to underscore the operational reach, peaceful presence and solidarity with friendly countries towards ensuring a good order in the maritime domain and to strengthen existing bonds between India and countries of the Indo-Pacific. This is not the first time that Indian Navy ships have sailed through South China Sea, but the importance of INS Ranvijay, a guided missile destroyer, INS Shivalik, a guided missile frigate, INS Kora, a guided missile corvette, NIS Kadmat, an anti-submarine warfare corvette cannot be underscored. The task force of the Eastern Naval Fleet will operate in Southeast Asia, South China Sea and the Western Pacific Ocean for over 2 months.
India's Eastern Fleet has deployed a force of 4 ships to the South China Sea. A lot is being read into this deployment, but this is nothing unusual. The Indian Navy has been doing overseas deployment for a long time. We have strong maritime ties with countries in Southeast Asia. The fleets frequently sail out east of Malacca Straits and operate in the South China Sea.
These are bilateral exercises scheduled with navies of Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia, Australia and Indonesia. The Indian Navy will also participate in the crucial Malabar 21 exercise in the Western Pacific with the navies of Australia, Japan and the United States of America. France has just concluded a patrol in the South China Sea and the German Navy has also sent a Brandenburg-class frigate in the hotly contested waters to send across a strong message of ensuring keeping the sea lanes of communication free. Bureau Report, India Today.
Thank you for watching this episode of Battle Cry. We'll see you on the other side. Stay with India Today.